Back to the Grand Hotel here in this year's Mackinac Policy Conference, and our chance to sit down for a conversation this morning with Michigan's Governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Governor, good to see you as always. Let's talk about first this massive announcement that you just made with Ford Motor Company. Interesting because Michigan's had some wins and losses on some of these really big plants, but I think you feel like you're starting to figure out the recipe.
Well, this is a huge win. And listen, no state's going to get 100% of any, one company's investment. They're moving fast, they're looking for opportunity, they're making huge investments. This $2 billion investment that Ford announced today is a statement that they are a Michigan company, always have been, they're always going to be. But really growing their EV, growing their production in Michigan is a huge victory. And these are really good paying jobs and secures our leadership, and as this sector of our economy continues to evolve fast.
But it is also a statement, though, isn't it, about the toolkit that the state has been trying to get together so that you don't end up with what happened last fall and finding out that these big projects were going to Kentucky and Tennessee.
I think, the old knock on Michigan was that we didn't have the same tools other states had. We moved too slow and Lansing was dysfunctional. Last December, we knocked that narrative upside down. We moved fast in a collaborative way with the legislature, and we really enhanced our tool set. And so now we are delivering. We've got this $7 billion investment from General Motors that we announced earlier this year, $1.7 billion investment from LG Chemical Solution. This is, I think, one more in a long story that we are writing that is about investment, cutting edge, and Michigan winning when it comes to telling the story and earning this kind of investment.
You also took pains to make sure you mentioned today that these were UAW jobs, and the narrative for so long was that union states were not going to be able to compete. The jobs were, of course, going to flee to non-union culture places and places where unions weren't expected to be a part of the picture. What is happening there, do you think?
Probably a lot of things, and I don't want to oversimplify it, but I'll just say this. When we think about advanced manufacturing in America, it is a homeland security issue. We've got to be the world's manufacturer, and we can't outsource these things or we are at a huge disadvantage. When we grow jobs and investment in manufacturing, and they happen to be UAW jobs, they're going to be really good paying jobs. You're going to have a workforce that has the skills, and they are partners with the employer. And so Ford has seen that, recognizes and values that. Same with General Motors. I mean, we've got a powerful story to tell, and workers need to have a voice at the table, but they also need to have real buy-in, and that's what Ford does. That's what General Motors does, and that's why they've been so successful.
Well, talk about the CHIPS Act and how important that is to the state. You were just mentioning that down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, well, it's crucial. So no one knew what a semiconductor was. All right, some people knew, but the majority of the public did not appreciate that a semiconductor is crucial, whether it's what's in your phone or powers your vehicle or your toaster. I mean,
runs everything.
Everything. The CEO of Whirlpool made sure that I knew, semiconductors aren't just for cars, they're for washing machines as well. I mean, this is a big deal.
Right.
And so we've come to a standstill at times because too much of the industry that was created in America is now done in different parts of the globe. It's been a real struggle for manufacturing. And so making sure that Michigan is a place that we can build semiconductor fabs is crucial. The CHIPS Act is a linchpin to that. We've got to make it competitive to do that in North America, and Congress needs to take action. And I'm grateful if someone in our delegation get it and they're working on it, but we got to get this over the finish line.
Let me get to a couple other topics. Yesterday, the Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, was here, and you spoke to him, and you both talked a little bit about trying to alleviate the pressure that people are feeling at the pump. What can we do?
Well, you know what, I think we can give people some relief right now. I've proposed giving a tax rebate, $500.
I want to get to that, but that's
That's
different
a
from
quick
what you're,
way that we could get money in people's pockets.
Yep.
I've also suggested perhaps we get rid of the sales tax on gas. That would give people some relief at the pump. But what I'm interested in is something that's going to give people relief right now. And we're negotiating with the legislature. I'm confident we're going to land on something meaningful that will actually help people and do so quickly. But They got a budget that we're also negotiating and hoping to get everything wrapped up in the next few weeks.
You just mentioned you'd like to see checks going back out in the form of tax rebates. The other side really would rather see a change in tax rates and tax policy. One would seem to be a short-term answer. The other one seems to be longer term. Where do you come together on this, do you think?
Well, I think we got to be fiscally responsible. You know, it's we've got a lot of resources right now, unlike anything we've ever seen in decades. A lot of it's one-time money, some of it is ongoing, and that's why as we think about a policy that gives people relief right now, we've got to be cognizant of what the broader implications are. So it's hard to be the one that's saying we got to be fiscally responsible, but we do. And we can afford to make those long-term investments that set us up for long-term prosperity and give people some relief right now, and that's where I'm hoping we can get to very soon.
It kind of creates one of the older dynamics in politics that Republicans want lower taxes and Democrats want to keep them higher for government to spend.
Well, I have proposed, and we've gotten some tax relief. You know, we eliminated the tampon tax. We've gotten small business tax relief in the form of property tax. I mean, we have cut taxes. I'm proud of that. Yeah. We've made historic investments without raising taxes, not 1 cent. I'm proud of that too. We are in a position right now where we can give people some relief and continue to make sure our kids have all the supports they need to get the education that sets them up for success, and to close the skills gap, to protect our water. I mean, these are fundamentals that we can and will continue to do and give people some relief right now.
Lastly, let me talk a little politics with you, which is inescapable in a big midterm year for midterms for others, but for you, much bigger than a midterm matter. We just had the poll that came out that the chamber released at the beginning of this conference that showed that while Michiganders are far more pessimistic about what's happening nationally, they're still rather pessimistic about Michigan too. About half of them think that the state is going in the wrong direction. What do you do to change that narrative?
And half of them feel really good, and I'm a glass half full
Not sure it was
person.
Quite half,
I couldn't do this work if I didn't see the opportunity.
Sure.
You know, the fact of the matter is, it's been a hard couple of years. There's no question. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone is frustrated. We want some normalcy. And the last thing people want to do is talk about politics. They just want to live their lives and know their kids are going to be safe at school, know their rights aren't going to be taken away, know that you can pursue any dream you have in the great state of Michigan. We're making progress. Unemployment's low. We've got huge investment that's happening. So there's a lot of good that's happening. We still have challenges. We fixed a ton of roads. There's a lot more that we got to do. But we're making progress, and I'm going to continue to keep my sleeves rolled up and stay at the table and work with anyone who wants to solve a problem. This is a great state, but the best part about it is the people who call it home.
We have the benefit of hindsight now, which of course you didn't have at the beginning of the pandemic. As you look back now, what would you have done differently? If you knew now, or if you knew then what you know now, what would you have done differently?
If I could go back in a time machine with the knowledge that we have now, would that inform different decisions? Of course it would. Mm-hmm. But of course, you know, we were dealing with a novel virus.
Yep.
We thought the virus was communicated through touch, not through respiration. Mm-hmm. You know, so a lot of the early policies were informed by past experiences with global pandemics, without the knowledge of what this novel virus, the real threat of it, and how it was communicated. So, of course, you know, if any leader says I would never change a thing with new information, well, they're lying or they're dangerous. I recognize I am not an epidemiologist or a public health expert. That's why I listened to the smartest, made the best informed decisions in the middle of a crisis that was taking people's lives, and we are in a much stronger position. A lot of lives were spared because of the work we did. Last
question. I've been asking a lot of people this here, and I'm curious, what's the most interesting thing that you've heard that you want to chew on for a while at this year's policy conference?
Well, you know, I appreciate the comments of Ted Koppel. I thought he made a compelling case. I thought John Meacham, I'm always looking for perspective, you know, historic perspective and, you know, incredibly challenging times. And I was thrilled that Secretary Buttigieg was here. He knows how to pronounce Gaylord because he owns a place in Traverse City. Yes. He really is a Michigander in a lot of ways, and he's been an incredible partner. And he pointed out, because we've been focused on infrastructure longer than many other parts of the country, we're in a stronger position to move fast and deploy these dollars that are coming in from the feds. And I'm excited about the opportunity in front of us.
That was a couple of different things instead of just one. So
There's
you've
a lot
had
going
a
on
good
here.
couple of days then.
Yeah.
Governor, it's always good to talk to you. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Devin.
Governor Whitmer from the Mackinac Policy Conference here at the Grand Hotel.